Well, we're waiting.
And welcome into the rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it as always. Jam-packed show for you today, and something that could theoretically reshape the way that college football is in our country. I know that sounds like a big, bold statement there, but changing to a playoff system where you have 12 teams in your playoff. Wow. Big deal there. So we're going to lead off with that. And I want to get you involved with the program, 803-978-1832, if you would like to join us here today. But we got to start with the way this is set up, the way we have it now. Let's review what we have now. A 14 playoff. All the bids are basically determined by the playoff rankings, and it's worked. You have a little bit of a gripe here or there, a little bit, every now and then. You can make an argument that say in last year's playoff that maybe Notre Dame shouldn't have been there, and maybe Texas A&M was the better team, but you can alleviate that with Texas A&M couldn't win their division. So little things like that come up. But currently, the way the college football playoff is, everything seems to be fine. And I want to make sure that I go on the record with, I think this is the way we have it now is the way that it should stay. I don't agree with having more teams. I think that's absolutely silly. I think you cheapen it. I think that earning a CFP spot that is a big deal. And if you market it out to 12 teams every year, it's like having I don't know, man. It's just too much. It's just too much. And it just basically breaks it down and makes it silly. So let's make sure that we have that out there. If you want more than 4 teams, fine. There is the argument that if you have more than 4 teams, maybe the same 2 or 3 teams will stop getting into it. Basically, what that's saying is that we're tired of seeing Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State in the college football playoff. We're tired of Notre Dame, if they can have a good season, that they're eliminating teams like, I don't know. We can go Texas A&M from last year, the Georgia Bulldogs, etc. Teams that have yet to achieve greatness in the CFP era. Those teams, they're the ones that are upset, and they're screaming, let us have 12 teams. Let us have 64 teams. Yeah, that's the silliness that we're dealing with here. But the current system works. And the idea of 4 teams just makes sense. Now, if we're going to expand, and this is from Pete Thamel from Yahoo Sports, he says that the officials that he spoke to says the reason you go to 12 is because you can develop the road of least resistance towards a good result. And what he means by that is that there are holes in it if you go with 8 or 6 or 8 that you can alleviate with 12. Here's the idea for 12, though. If you have 12 teams in the playoffs, what it would look like would be you would have the 5 conference champions and then the 1 group of 5 champion. Now, with that, you would have, and then it would be a matchup of, those teams would play home games, basically. Seeds 5 through 12 would play home games, and the first 4 teams would get a bye. Now, here's the problem with that. If you are a home team, you get the money for that. I mean, am I wrong in seeing that? If you get a bye, you don't get to host a game. So in theory, you would the first round games will be played on campus. After that, they'll go to bowl games. But you lose out on that money and the opportunity to host a CFP game on your campus. That's one of the silly things. So, but let's put that out of the realm there for just a second. If we did it for last season, and by the way, this is up on my blog page at foxsportsradio1400.com. But to break it down for you, last year, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and Notre Dame would all get byes. Number 5, Texas A&M would be at home, and they would get the 12th seed, which would be Coastal Carolina. I'm not. That's the way the CFP rankings came out. I didn't do it. It's just the way that it is. I think that, no disrespect to the Shants, but that would be a problem. 803-978-1832. Out to the phones we go. And welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, what's going on? This is Ballard Sports Media. I've called up a couple times.
Buddy.
How you doing today?
How are you, man? What do you think about the playoff expansion?
Yeah, I was going to call up about that. I think, and of course, we've all seen different models of playoff expansion. I am not against it. I know a lot of people are, and I also have a feeling inside of me like I'm for expansion because it would be so great to see more playoff games. It would be great for the committee because I'm sure even last year, I mean, look at all the teams that were eligible for that 4th spot. And of course, they gave it to Notre Dame. I mean, you had Coastal, BYU. You had teams like that. I am for expansion. Now, here's the thing. I see so many different models. I've seen them go up to like 64 teams. That's first off too much. 16's too much. I think you need to go to 8 if you expand it. Okay. And I think what you would do, and, on my own channel, I'll, make my own video for this and I'll go into detail a little bit more. But I feel like you start out with, okay, let's take the Power 5 champions. You'll have the Pac-12, the Big 12, the Big 10, SEC, ACC. You'll get those as long as, and I know 2 lost teams don't get in, but even 2 lost teams have good enough resumes and can eventually be champions in their own conferences. Like if you have a 2-loss Oregon goes on to win the Pac-12, should they be left out just because they had 2 losses? Let's say they're to rank teams like Washington and USC, just throwing them out there, giving an example. I think you'll have that. So you'll have the 5 Power 5 teams. Then, of course, if you have like a 1-loss team that didn't make their conference or something, it all comes down to resume. Do you have enough 1-loss teams with a good enough resume that you say, yeah, I'd consider putting them in. So you'll have the 5 teams. Then you'll have three other spots.
Right.
You'll have the 5 champions, 3 other spots. You could even put in, let's say, I know Notre Dame's now back to being independent.
Right.
What if they're undefeated? You could put them in.
All of that is in the mix. But the thing that you and I disagree on is the college football playoff is perfect the way that it is. Why are we trying to mess with it and add more teams to it? And hey, I appreciate you calling the program, buddy. Thank you so much. All right, so he made some good points there, but what it basically comes back to is that your matchups would, in theory, look like this. Number 5, Texas A&M would play the 12 seed Coastal Carolina. Number 6, Oklahoma would be at home to play 11 seed Indiana. Number 7, Florida would play number 10, Iowa State, and number 8, Cincinnati would be at home for number 9, Georgia. Now, you would have some interesting things there because, some of these teams, you're not going to have a setup where, Georgia goes to Cincinnati, and that's not a knock on Georgia. It's just that why would they schedule a game at Cincinnati? They're not exactly in the realm of, hey, we should play Cincinnati every year. That doesn't make any sense. But where you get kind of silly is that, you've got your 5 Power 5 conferences. So last season, what did we have? We had Clemson from the ACC, Alabama from the SEC, from the Big 10, Ohio State is 3, from the Big 12, Oklahoma is 4. And then you've got Oregon at number 5. I think they were ranked like 18th in the rankings. So the idea of, yeah, your best team from your conference makes the most sense. All right. I mean, you're going to have to swallow a little bit of that. Okay. But the reality is that then you've got this group of 5 team that's there. Last season, it would have been Cincinnati, which, they had the schedule and they finished out like they were supposed to. But the big thing here is getting where you have that option of having somewhat of a Cinderella type thing with one of these teams. And if Cincinnati could go on a run, and let's say Cincinnati could beat whoever it is they play in their first round game, and then they're squaring off with one of the top seeds up there, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Notre Dame. That's like, they think people will like that. As a fan of college football, I'm telling you, all of that is garbage. Absolute garbage. If you want to make the CFP, win your damn games. This isn't rocket science. I don't understand. Now, you've already got the dummies lining up. And what I mean by that is that the people that are, I don't have a problem with the 12 teams that I listed here. I goof on the Georgia fans a good bit, but in reality, they are one of the, they're a top 10 team. Okay. We can make an argument against Coastal Carolina. We can make an argument against the 11th seed Indiana, even though they won more Big Ten games last season than Ohio State. But the Big Ten decided we're just going to put Ohio State in the playoffs because that's what we want to do. And screw you, Indiana. That's basically what they did to them. Anyway, the problem is that I don't have a problem with this, but you're going to have games there that are going to be terrible. They're going to be terrible. And I know people are like, but you have games in the NCAA tournament. It's a completely different thing. In the NCAA tournament, you can have an off shooting day in fall. I'm telling you, these group of 5 teams, a lot of them really can't compete with these teams that are in the top 4. So you ended up with a bunch of silliness. And I just think it's just going to be completely wrong. But there are already people out there talking about, and normally I love him. Josh Pate from 247 Sports put out something today, and he must be bored up there in Nashville because he said that when they're demanding bids, the SEC should demand one for each of their divisions. Have you lost your mind? Have you absolutely lost your mind? My goodness, man. And of course, I tweeted back at him. Why don't we just have the SEC Invitational? We'll just have the SEC Invitational and we'll just say, hey, because you played a road game at Ole Miss, that's better than anything else. It's insane. If you want to win the national championship, here's a thought. First, start by winning your division, then win your conference. And then once you win your conference, then we can go from there. But it's really hard for me, too, to look at a team like Oregon and say, man, you finished basically 18th in the CFP rankings, but we're going to give you a spot. That doesn't make any sense at all. 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832 is the number to call. If you're one of these people that think that when Commissioner Sankey goes, he should go in there and say, look, this is all great, but I want 2 of those 12 teams to be the winner of the SEC East and the winner of the SEC West. Because that's what some people are out there putting out there. That, in my opinion, would ruin college football. We have so many things that are going to change college football. The whole NIL thing, the transfer portal, and then now you throw this into the mix. Game is so much different. I sound like I'm the old man yelling at the sky, and I keep telling myself that, but this is a big deal. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Do you think that we should have 12 teams in the college football playoff under the format of your 5 conference champions and the one at-large Power 5 team, or excuse me, G5 team, then followed by the rest of the bids going to at-large teams. Now, here's the other interesting thing about that. With last season, I don't think that anyone would argue that you're going to get multiple bids from the SEC if you have 12 teams. Okay, let's be honest. Georgia would be there, Texas A&M would be there, and Alabama would probably be there too. I'm not Alabama would probably they'd be one of the top seeds anyway. But those three teams would be in the mix altogether. So in that, the people that are complaining about having just the teams from the SEC or the ACC or what have you, basically the G5 audience, you're going to get the same thing. It's just going to mess you up. It's going to mess up everything. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832 if you want to talk about this today. Would love to get your comments on this. Yahoo Sports says it's going to be probably 2 years out. CBS Sports says that they could announce by the end of the summer what the change is going to be, but they're leaning towards that 12-team model. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Blake says, instead of undefeated App State, give me a 2-loss SEC team all day. Oh, okay, Blake. I'm not really buying that, but all right. You know, I want quality matchups there, but the problem is that we have so many people that have this logic that unless you play in this or unless you play there, it's not going to be a quality matchup. What I can tell you is that we have a track record showing on a lot of different levels that when you have a G5 team, a lot of times they don't really compete well when they play one of the top teams in the country. Now, you could go the other route with this, which is let the G5 have their own national champion. Why not have a playoff for that? Coastal Carolina, Liberty, Louisiana, and Cincinnati. All four of those teams. There's your top four there. Have your CFP tournament with those four and crown yourself a national champion. Why can't we do that? You're going to be a national champion anyway. Makes the most sense to me. But of course, it's literally the same people that are sitting in the stands. We want Bama when they've won one game. What a mess. Phone lines are open, 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832 is the number to call. Jeremy says, didn't Cincinnati give Georgia a game last year? Yeah, but they lost. If they won, it would be different. But they lost. And let's also be honest, do you really think Georgia cared about that game? Opt-outs, people not playing. They got basically 60% of what Georgia had. Simple as that. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. This is The Rundown. You are listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400. You're right. All right. You finally got me, begging me. That is some top quality stuff there. You win, sir. Who's the backup quarterback at Clemson? It's to be determined. The young man that was Fomachu, he is injured. Got injured like in garbage time of the spring game. You think Cincinnati's going to make the top four? Hey, more power to you on that, buddy. Yeah, but Justin Fuente over there, here's the thing. If you're one of the top 4, you don't get to host. You get a bye. So it's like if you want to be on campus, 5 through 8, whatever, it's insane. Yeah, those teams get to host, but you don't. What an absolute silliness on that. Oh, by the way, I just got a confirmation email I will have on my program. I think Thursday, I will have WWE's Rhea Ripley. Man, Rhea Ripley's great. Gonna have her on the program on Wednesday if you're into the WWE stuff. She's a big, tall woman. She could probably kick me in the face. Well, welcome back to the rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. I give credit for good comments when they need it. Megan online says, as a Georgia fan, I don't think going to an 8 or 12 team playoff is going to help our chances of winning a national championship. Shortening to the game to 3 quarters would. You win, sir. Very seldom do I read something over there that makes me laugh really hard, and that did. Blake says, we don't want Bama. We just want to know what time the game is, so we'll know. We'll be able to go after the first quarter. Okay. Jeremy says, bowl prediction, Cincinnati's making the playoffs this year. Look, if Cincinnati earns their way into the playoff, I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that at all. If the CFP committee says, you know what, we've sat down and we think that Cincinnati, who goes 12-0 and has won, what do they play in the American Conference, that they have, I think they're in the American. I have to check on that. Anyway, but we think that they have one of the top 4 teams in the country. We have to trust the CFP committee. I don't have a problem with that. Now, people are going to say, well, that 3-loss Florida team would probably beat them. Yeah, but that 3-loss Florida team shouldn't have lost 3 games. I mean, that's the thing. You have people that talk about this whole thing of, hey, this 2-loss ACC team, SEC team, Big 12, put whoever would beat these G5 teams. Yeah, you shouldn't have lost those 2 games. You don't deserve to be there anyway. I also, and this is another hill that I'll die on. If you don't win your division, if you don't win your conference, you don't belong in the college football playoff. If you weren't good enough to win your conference, how can you be the national champion? I mean, where's the logic behind that? That makes absolutely no sense to me. I still think we should keep it at 4 teams. 4 teams, make it easy, and then go there. And another quote there for Megan. Regular season games have consequences. You're exactly right. If you win your games in the regular season, none of that matters. None of that matters. But now you're putting in a window where you can be, in theory, a mediocre team. And I'll give you an example. Let's say that you play in the SEC East, or we could even go with, let's say you play in the ACC Atlantic. Okay? And you have a team that's pretty good, but your schedule shifts where you don't have to play Clemson. In theory, that's not that far-fetched. That happens a lot. You don't play Clemson, you go to the ACC championship game, Clemson beats you. That's your only loss on the season. You're going to be looking at that CFP playoff committee saying, hey, we have 1 loss on the year. It's to Clemson. They're going to put you in the playoffs, even though in reality, you didn't really play the best team but once and you lost. The same thing can happen in the SEC. It can happen anywhere. 803-978-1832. Jimmy says the playoffs begin on September the 4th. Exactly. Win every week. It just makes it better. Just makes it better. All right, we've got college baseball stuff to talk about as well, but obviously, if you want to get into the college football stuff, we can definitely talk about that. We could talk about Aaron Rodgers not reporting to camp and why people are shocked by that. That's like leading news at Fox Sports at the top of the hour here that, hey, Aaron Rodgers didn't report to camp. Well, did you think that was going to happen? Come on, man. What a mess that's turning into. Anyway, one of the more unique things in the college baseball season, of course, is the tournament, but this year it's really interesting. South Carolina was eliminated from the tournament on Saturday? Here's the weird thing here. At Founders Park this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, there will be a super regional matchup without South Carolina in the mix. What? Yes. Without South Carolina in the mix. Old Dominion was beat by Virginia today. Virginia wins the Columbia Regional. They will host Dallas Baptist here in Columbia. And you know what I'm chalking this up to? And I'm dead serious about this. This is going to be this last section here. We've had to put up with a load of stuff. And I can't use the S word that I want on the radio here. But we've had to put up with a load of stuff for over a year now, as far as our sports goes. We had to watch a college football season with no fans in the stands, and they're giving us fake crowd noise. And we all were just supposed to deal with that. We had to deal with, if you did go to a game, you had to wear a mask, and you had to, there's so many things that you had to go through just to go to a game. But this, using South Carolina's home stadium for Dallas Baptist and Virginia to play a super regional, will be the last, in my opinion, sports inconvenience we will have due to the pandemic. So I say to you folks here in Columbia, I was talking with Teddy Hefner, who does mornings here on our fine radio station from 9 to noon. Go down and watch one of those games this weekend. Why not? Why would you not do that? It's college baseball. If you enjoy the game of college baseball, you should go. Make it very, you don't have a team in the mix. Figure out a team that you like for a day. Who cares? One of the other things I was talking about with Teddy was back in the day, Dr. McGee didn't want the Carolina Panthers playing their first season in Columbia. They wanted to play at Williams-Brice Stadium. He was going to come in and redo the locker rooms and everything, make the stadium up to NFL caliber. No, only the mighty Gamecocks can play at Williams-Brice Stadium. Now, what's happening? They're playing baseball in that stadium down there with two other teams, and they're doing it because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So the Columbia Regional will be Dallas Baptist and Virginia. First game is at 12 o'clock on Saturday. And, of course, it's a best-of-3 Super Regional. The Knoxville Super Regional will have Tennessee and LSU. We got to give LSU credit. I thought they were on the mat, dropped their first game, got shut out, came back, and they won the Oregon Regional. They will play Tennessee. In the Lubbock Super Regional, you go to Texas Tech. You'll have Texas Tech and Stanford. Arizona will welcome in Ole Miss. Mississippi State and Notre Dame. The Irish had a pretty good season, but playing on the road down there at Mississippi State, that's going to be a tough matchup for just about anybody. You've also got Vanderbilt playing East Carolina, and that's at Vanderbilt. The Fayetteville Regional has Arkansas and NC State. And then the Austin Super Regional has Texas and South Florida. So there are your Super Regional matchups. The one in Columbia, the one Super Regional that will have nothing but basically the parents for the team, and that's about it. I'm hoping that the folks around Columbia that like college baseball, go down there, catch yourself a game, and just support one of these teams. Look, Virginia put you out. So you could, if you're a Gamecock fan, go down there and cheer on Dallas Baptist. Why not? Tiny school, they got some baseball tradition there. Go down there and cheer them on as they try to take out an ACC team. Maybe Dallas Baptist could be the team that is Columbia's team for the week. 803-978-1832. Out to the phones we go. And welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, Rob. Love your show, man.
Thank you.
You talking about college baseball. What is Clemson going to do with their college baseball program?
Well, I mean, I don't think they're going to fold it up, even though it looked like they folded up at the beginning of the year. This wasn't the kind of season that you would normally expect from the Tigers. But and I think, and I said this the other day, Clemson plays in the ACC where about 6 of the teams that are in it actually care about baseball. And this season they finished 11th. So they just weren't a very good team this year.
I mean, I know when we had Coach Leggett, everybody wanted to run him off. Now everybody wants to bring him back because at least they were competitive.
They were, and I've got some inside sources on that team up there that said that actual players that have said that there was some leadership positions as far as within the team, as far as the players go, that the upperclassmen kind of we're a little bit off, and that's what I was told. I wasn't in the locker room, just what I was told. So maybe getting some of the upperclassmen out, and I'm not trying to belittle what they did for the program up there, but if you don't have your upperclassmen leading, then that's going to be a problem for your team.
Well, for the last couple of years, he's been telling us how good the pitching was going to be, and it just hadn't been. It just wasn't there.
The pitching staff has been. Now you could make an argument that they had the young man that pitched in the season of before COVID, basically, who, if he would have finished out the year, he would have been fine. So I'm not making excuses. When you go out there and you finish 11th in the conference, that's not a good year. It's not a good year. First time since 1957 that they're going to have a losing record, or they had a losing record. That's silly.
And I have one more question for you. The quarterback that Clemson is bringing in, is there any chance he signs a Major League Baseball contract but is allowed to play football?
No, I think once he signs his contract, he's gone. I don't think. Are you talking about Chandler, Bubba Chandler? I think that if he decides to sign with the major leagues, he's not going to be playing football for Clemson.
Not going to be playing football.
Yeah, so I mean and he's projected to be a first round pick. I mean that's a lot of money to turn down to go and play football. What's that?
Will Taylor be one of those guys that we don't see either?
He's also projected to go in the first round too. So those are
2 baseball players that would have just boosted the team up right there.
Yeah, but they the major leagues are offering them money, so life-changing money at that age.
Football team and the baseball team,
I think the era of the 2-sport athlete is gone. I don't think a lot of guys are going to. Yeah, I don't think that guys are going to be playing both. I just don't see it happening because it's just I think coaches now are leaning on kids to pick one and get really great at one.
Yeah.
So.
And congratulations on your sons knocking off the Lakers.
I was so happy about that I was yelling at my house, and I can confirm that I woke up my son, and that wasn't good.
I watched that game. It's the only NBA game I watched all year because I wanted to see LeBron get put out, and he did it.
Well, I tell you what, if you, I'm not trying to push you to watch more NBA games, but I'm an NBA guy. This series with the Nuggets is outstanding. The Nuggets center that they've got is a big Russian fellow, Vocic, and he can flat out play. And just the back and forth between him and the Suns is pretty fun basketball, especially if you don't have a team in the mix.
Yeah, that's like the kid Booker. I hadn't even really heard his name, and he's 50 points.
Yeah, but it's because he plays on the West Coast. I think that people don't know who Mike Trout is because they don't get to watch a bunch of Angels games. He's the best player in baseball. You can make an argument that there's a set of West Coast players that play in the NBA that we're not going to get because we're forced to watch the Hornets here in this market, and then they shove the Knicks and whoever else down our throat here too. So you don't get to see some of these guys from the West Coast.
Yeah, but Booker proved he was the best basketball player on the court that night.
He certainly did.
He certainly did.
He certainly did. And I was
All
a
right,
happy
man.
individual. Appreciate it, buddy.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have more for you here on the rundown. If you want to talk about the college football playoff, we can get into that. Possibly expanding to 12 teams. Some dumbness on the television. I'll tell you what that is. And a lot more in just a moment. You're listening to the rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. Yeah, Booker is really good, and he's a guy that a lot of people just don't know much about, but he is definitely above average. Let's see here. I've got a LeBron James story that is going to make people laugh a little bit. Sent me the. He's dropping folks on a lot of things a lot, man. He gets after it. Where is it? Oh, well, here we go. Yeah. This story from LeBron James will make you giggle for a minute. I don't know if PJ Dozier, he didn't play last night. So I don't know, I don't know what exactly is the deal with him, to be honest with you. He didn't play last night. So that little guy Composite that plays for the Nuggets is really good. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. I've got a quick thing on LeBron James here. Apparently he's upset about the whole being eliminated by the Phoenix Suns because his team wasn't the better team. He took out his I'm going to go get my pickup players and we're going to get together and we're just going to have the best team ever. And then they lost to a team that was essentially built from the inside, and that hurt his feelings. Now he's posting stuff on Instagram. The scene from Gladiator where he claims he's going to have his vengeance. LeBron, let me give you a little bit of advice, sir. Father Time catches us all. You are 36 years old. And in NBA years, you're a lot older than 36. Because you've been playing since you were 18. You cannot play forever. You cannot carry a team forever. So when you get humbled by a better team, which is what the Phoenix Suns were. They proved that over and over and over again when they blew you out, especially by 30 points in their building, then came out and beat you by 20 in your own building too. You're not the player you once were. Are you still a great player? Yes, but you're not the LeBron James of 5 years ago. So maybe you shouldn't post online scenes from Gladiator saying, I will have my vengeance. How about this? Go back out there and prove that you are a great player. Convince Davis to take care of himself a little bit better and not get injured as much, which I know sounds silly, but Charles Barkley had it right. He spends more time in plain clothes than anything else. There's an issue of toughness with him. Maybe toughen him up a little bit. Get some of the guys you had on your team last season, Rajon Rondo, guys like that. Yeah. Work on that. Let's try that. Okay? Before we start talking about vengeance. Anyway, I have to talk about this really quickly here. Actually, I'm going to talk about this after the break. First Take was talking about, of course, the show that's Stephen A. Smith and all those guys was talking about Arch Manning. And what they said was pretty silly, to say the least. Something they were actually talking about on a national sports show will kind of make your head thump just a little bit. We'll talk about that when we come back here on the rundown as we get you set up for the upcoming weekend in sports. Will Pelagic from WFNZ joins us later this week, and working on a couple of other great interviews that will hopefully make the show interesting as we roll along here for the rest of the week. Getting closer and closer to the college football season. You know, we got 3 weeks left in June. The middle of July, ladies and gentlemen, is the time where the whole big talking season starts, like right before you get to SEC Media Days, ACC kickoff, all of that. So, yeah, looking forward to that. Couple of notes here. Began says LeBron has done more in the past year to turn folks away from the NBA than he ever did to draw them in. Jeremy says LeBron James is the main reason he doesn't watch the NBA anymore. Now, there you go. Find people that can beat LeBron James. It makes it more fun. All right. We'll talk about Arch Manning and what some dum-dums said in a moment. You're listening to The Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. Yo, LeBron kills me. I don't even want to talk about his politics. All right. We could talk about that, but that's kind of silly. The thing that gets me with him is that he plays in the league now where you can't hand check. Like, you can't, if you're coming up the court and I've got my hands out and I put my hand on you at all, it's a foul. And they consistently call it. And he flops and falls and just ruins games. You know, he makes his living by the fact that he's 6'8", 260 pounds, whatever it is. He's bigger, stronger than everybody else. But if he gets touched at all, he gets mad and loses his mind and thinks the refs are trying to get him and everything else. By the way, he travels with the basketball a lot too. I know that people think I'm silly when I say that. But he travels with the basketball a lot too. And I'm not watching any of that. I may tweet those out later. Some of the stuff where he's literally, man, killing me, dude. And the whole thing of picking your team, that just bugs me. Just bugs me. When his first team with the Heat, when he had Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade and all that, and they lost to Dirk Nowitzki, who had the flu. Dirk Nowitzki with the flu beat LeBron James in the finals. And LeBron James had 3 Hall of Fame players with him. He had 4 Hall of Famers on that team. You count Ray Allen too. And they lost to Dirk Nowitzki with the flu. That's all you need to know about LeBron James. Quitting on the Cavs when the Celtics were beating them senseless in the Eastern Conference Finals, and he just quit. Oh, I'm leaving anyway. Then, of course, the thing with losing to Dirk. And then this past season, he's not even playing defense. His team was down by 30, and they whittled it down to 9 points. And he threw a bad pass and didn't get back on defense. You're supposed to be like the absolute best player in the NBA, and you can't do that. You can't get back on defense. Get the hell out of here, man. Ridiculous. And all the stuff that he does where he'll drive to the lane and muscle people up, he does that because of the officiating. If he did that to Charles Oakley would break his femur and feed it to him. Seriously. This physical stuff, none of that would happen. Dennis Rodman would have killed him. Larry Bird would have had a field day with him. Ugh, insane. Final segment of the rundown this afternoon here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Shout out to the folks watching on Facebook and YouTube over there. Appreciate you guys. The First Take show on ESPN is garbage. We've kind of talked about that before. For some reason, people love it. I don't get it. It's basically, they set up stupid debates every day. And they try to get people just to say outlandish things. So yesterday, one of the things that came up is Will Arch Manning, the 16-year-old young man who is a rising junior at a New Orleans high school. Lord only knows where he's going to end up playing. He got an offer from Clemson this weekend. Alabama's in the mix. He may go to LSU. I don't know. Just he's the number 1 rated passing quarterback in the country in that class. You can figure it out by checking out those rankings. Some people have him at 1. Some people may have him at 2. Just think very, very good quarterback. And your name is Manning, meaning that you are part of that Manning family. I'm reading to you the scrolling headline that's at the top of the screen there from the First Take. Will Arch Manning surpass Peyton, Eli, and Archie to become the greatest Manning yet? He's 16 years old, ladies and gentlemen. And we're already asking, is he going to be better than Grandpa Archie, Peyton, who's in the Hall of Fame, and I think Peyton's in the Hall of Fame. Either way, he will be. And Eli Manning, who is, has Super Bowl rings, had a great NFL career. Is this 16-year-old going to be able to surpass all of them? Really? Maybe that's just a little bit premature. Maybe just a little bit. Now you wonder why we have the kids that get their heads blown up in recruiting. It's because of things like this. They're asking on ESPN if he's going to be better than Peyton Manning. It's amazing how society's kind of changed with all that. Not saying that Arch Manning's going to be a bad quarterback, but putting the pressure on him that will he be able to compete with his 2 uncles and his dad? His 2 uncles and his grandfather is pretty silly. Some of the comments online, folks talking about Stephen Smith. A. Smith is a buffoon. Yes, I agree. Some more comments about LeBron James. LeBron James would get his butt kicked by Jordan, Bird, and Magic. It's a different era, but I do stand by the officiating is a lot different. I don't think certain guys would get away with a lot of stuff they do. Guys like Steph Curry, I think they would just get beat up, to be completely honest. Began says he's soft, period. Yeah. He wants to be physical, but he doesn't want you to be physical with him. He's an ice cream boy. He can dish it out, but he can't take it, which is why he left Cleveland and went to Miami, and then left Miami and went back to Cleveland, and then left Cleveland and went to the Lakers. If he doesn't like the way things are, he just leaves. I'll just go somewhere else. I'll just get my pickup team somewhere else and be great. Now, I'm not taking away from the fact that he's a good player. You can make the argument that he's the best of this current generation. But I'm old enough to know that he wouldn't have been that kind of player back when you could hand check. Back when if you went to the lane on certain teams, they would knock you into next month. Yeah, he wouldn't do well at that. For his era, he's great. But to say that I love the people that, he's the absolute greatest of all time, Rob, and you're just being an absolute hater because you're a Phoenix Suns fan. Yeah, look, my Suns made the playoffs for the first time in like 8 years. Okay? We're not anywhere near saying that we could possibly be able to compete at the level of the teams that LeBron James has been on. We have a great team this year. I think we can beat the Nuggets, but in reality, I don't know if we're an NBA championship type team or not. If we are, I'm going to go and buy myself a brand new Phoenix Suns jersey to go with my Dan Marley jersey that's hanging in my office. I will not wear said jersey because jerseys should only be worn by children and, of course, women. Women look great in the jerseys. Not me, though. That's not happening. It'll hang up in my office, though. I will buy a Championship Suns t-shirt if they win to go along with my jersey. So the Suns will get a couple $100 of my money if they can win the championship. I think I have a Suns hat somewhere. But it was great. One of the more satisfying sports things of recent memory for me is to watch LeBron James leave the court before basically the end of the game and not really pay his respects to the Suns. Now, I know there was a picture that he did a jersey swap where people couldn't see him in the locker room with Devin Booker. That's great. That's awesome. Good for you, sir. But it was great seeing him walk off the court and knowing that he's not going to the NBA Finals. You're a first-round loser, sir. That makes my summer very good. All right, we've got other things as far as football we'll get into tomorrow. Of course, this college football playoff committee thing is going to be going on in the next 3 weeks. So we will have something hopefully come out before we get to media days. You would think something would be out there in the mix. So we'll keep an eye on that for you. Also, we'll be following the college baseball super regionals. Looking at the matchups here. How many SEC teams do we get in here? Tennessee is 1. Mississippi State is 2. Vanderbilt is 3. Arkansas is 4. Ole Miss is 5. Yeah, you got 5 of the 16 teams that are left, and LSU is 6. So 6 out of the 16 that are left are from the SEC. And, we joke about, we don't really joke about it. The whole football conference thing is silly. But as far as baseball goes, playing in the SEC is absolutely tough. And you can see that now with all of the super regional teams that are here. At most, the SEC could have 5 teams in Omaha because Tennessee and LSU play each other. Probably my favorite story of the SEC season so far will be LSU. And can they go out on a high note? Man, if they could go in and beat Tennessee and get one more trip to Omaha, and their coach, as soon as he goes home, he's cleaning out his office. Wow. What a great storybook type season that is for LSU. All right, tomorrow on the rundown, more football talk, as I said, and we will get into I'm going to start doing position rankings as far as top guys coming back and which we're going to go by conference, who has the best wide receivers, et cetera, getting into some of that as I'm doing the research on that now. Don't forget, Lawton Swan of Clemson Sports Talk is next. He is the czar of Clemson Sports.
Stop looking at me, Swan.
You can follow him on Twitter. He's at Clemson Sports. I'm on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good. Podcast is up at 5 o'clock. And Will Pelagic joins us on Thursday from WFNZ. We'll talk about He may have some insight on the college football playoff stuff. And, of course, that's some NBA talk and more. Hey, thanks for joining me on the show today. We will see you tomorrow. Hey, you guys rock over there, man. I'll talk to you later on. Thanks for checking out the show today, guys.